My name is Ana Aliverti. I am a professor of law. Welcome to my exp. Border workers face significant moral challenges in terms of the work that they do, particularly in terms of the exercise of violence. The exercise of violence in the context of migration is very problematic, and it's not problematic just for researchers or advocates of migrant rights, but also for those who are, at the front lines. And in my research with immigration enforcement officers in the UK, they have shared those, those dilemmas that they face, particularly in relation to the detention of children, of families, but also in relation to the very nature of coercion in the context of migration. While coercion feels to them much easier to use in the context of, a criminal, right? Someone who causes harm, a murderer, a rapist. It is much more difficult for them to detain someone who is in the country for a better life, for seeking better opportunities, and for the for the only ground for that detention being not having the right papers. We came up with this concept of humanitarianism from below, which in a sense, differs from the idea of humanitarianism as a form of politics, as a form of discourse, as something that comes from the top, from above, right? As something that it appears in policy, in laws. In many ways, it's a legitimizing discourse of very sometimes in the context of border control, problematic policies. How does that perspective of border workers enrich this idea of humanitarianism that has been quite criticized by border scholars, is appreciating how particular policies that border policies, humanitarian policies are enacted on the ground, and how that kind of ground level exercise create tensions, create contradictions between control and protection, and how individual border workers deal with those contradictions. So I think the idea of humanitarianism from below brings that moral reflection and moral agency of the actual people doing border work. So what many officers talk about is, the conflicting legal functions and roles and demands that they need to play there, for instance, in terms of helping someone who is meant to be pushed out, who is meant to be not allowed in. So how do you square the fact that someone who is regarded as an illegal alien needs medical attention, needs food, needs shelter. And many of these police officers that we interview repeatedly suggest that that tension made them reflect on what is their function. And I think those reflections, although not well articulated in terms of, policy change, are important as critiques from within, not just from the outside. I think both critiques are important, but what I have been looking at is that kind of resistance to take on a punitive, a control function that the increased securitization of borders push these officers to do. It is important to think about those moral dilemmas that officers face in their everyday work, that are that in a sense question the politics from above, that legitimize and try to justify the function of borders, of migration controls in terms of counterterrorism, security, etc., that is very distant from the ground level of the work that these officers are doing.